Right. This video is going to cover just the MVP and the MVP Confluence Indicator both. So I'm going to go ahead and click New and click MVP Confluence New to add both of these indicators to my chart. And what MVP will do is it goes in and it will plot the period and the multiplier. Period means how many bars back is it looking. Multiplier is how far is it setting the indicator off of where the market is. And then offset is for like a trailing stop. So if you're an elite trader, you probably want to use 10 on that number. Okay, if you're using like the Apex Elite pattern, you probably want a 10 on there, not a 5. Okay? The offset number has nothing to do with the indicator itself. It just visually plots that stop for you automatically. Okay? There's two flip styles, high-low and close. High-low is the preferred method, but you can try close if you want to. Basically, it'll edit a little bit how it flips. So probably don't need to mess with that. I have seen people mess with these settings a lot to try to slow it down or speed it up. So feel free to play with it. Those are the default settings. That's what we recommend. The only one I would recommend changing maybe is changing your offset to 10 ticks for the MVP Elite charts. Look at both of them, see which one you like better. Okay? Again, these are other settings to speed things up. You know, how many bars back is it looking to flip over, and we can go through all this stuff in a ton of detail. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Okay? You're not going to be able to over-optimize this thing to make it some holy grail thing. It's great. It's a great, fantastic trending indicator. But at the end of the day, those are the recommended settings. Probably just stick with them. Okay? Again, do you want to require the predator line for it to flip? Yes. The predictor line for it to flip. Do you want to require the momentum predictor line to flip? Yes. So basically it's saying how stringent do you want to be for this indicator to flip back and forth from green to red. The whole point of the indicator was to make it flip when it needed to, but not too fast. Okay? And because there's moving averages out there, and there's SARs, and there's all sorts of stuff. And so this looks at all that ideology of SARs and moving averages and Bollinger Bands and everything else, and ties the entire thing together into one indicator to tell you long, short on trend. Okay? Again, you don't really need to play with it. Now here you have instant signal and breakout signal. This is the original MVP system that we made with the breakout. It's cool. It's helpful. It does work as long as there's enough premium in the market to get the binaries at the strikes listed. Okay? A better use is actually applying volume so you can get closer strikes when you have a breakout of the price versus having to get one that's really deep in the money. So there's a couple ways to do it, but we have it defaulted instant signal, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so instant signal will basically give you like one arrow. All right, whenever it flips around, whereas instant and breakout will give you an arrow, and then when that low of that bar is broken, then it'll give you another arrow. And then if you are using that, then you actually can turn on, the text and everything else. You could say, show me the labels and the lines and all that stuff. And you can turn on all sorts of information. This is, again, the original MVP strategy. It's a good strategy. It's just you got to, depending upon where it's at, you need to make sure you really understand the strategy to use it accurately. So we'll come back. We'll do some more trainings in MVP. But you may want to stick just with the simple alerts. You also can enable and disable the voice alerts on the system as well. So if you don't want to hear MVP alert, MVP alert, MVP alert, if you want it, turn it on. If you don't, turn it off. So you can make it visually show it, and you can make it audibly show it. So these are visual alerts. These are audio alerts. All right? And then down here we got... just leave this alone. Leave that alone. If you want to change colors, you can change colors. Upline, downline. You can show the volatile trend line as well, but really, since the main thing I look at is I look at the predictor line, which is the little bitty arrows, and I look at the offset line. The offset line is often what I'm using as a trailing stop, not the predictor. The predictor will move too fast sometimes. It'll just get too close, which maybe you want that. But the offset line is usually what I'm looking at for its rolling stop. Like here's a short move. And you may see, like, if I'm using it for its rolling stop, why I might want to use 10 ticks. We go back over here. We talked about, remember, using 10. And it'll move a little further off, but I'm still in the trade. Okay? So, you give up a little bit of profit on a trade that's going in your favor, but you have more room to not get kicked out of a trade too quick or too easily. So that's a big advantage of using that. The predictor arrows here, the big thing on the predictor arrows is when they go flat. Okay? More than anything, more than any other advantage is when they go flat. That means they're trying to turn, but other things aren't letting them turn yet. It's like right here we started getting flat, expecting it to turn around. And you'll see that time and time again before it flips. And I won't take a trade in the direction of an MVP whenever that MVP is doing that, okay? Because that means I'm expecting it to flip. So I really pay attention to flat arrows. We're actually going to make it where the arrows will change color when they're sequentially the same size. That's one of our future upgrades. But in the meantime, if you see that they have the same level, if they're flat, expect the MVP to flip soon. It may not. It may go ahead and get in gear and take off. But there's a decent probability that it will flip once those numbers go. Once those little arrows go flat. That's the number one thing I use them for. Okay? And that is pretty much MVP. Summary. Not necessarily system, but summary. And then the confluence is, the really cool thing about this is, we used to look at like 1, 2, 3, 4 to see, when they lined up for taking the best trade. Well, what we did is we added this, and I'll show you right here inside the confluence. You can go over here where it says array. And under array, you'll see 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are minutes. Soon we'll be adding diagnostics bars as well to it. But you can go in, and so now you're actually looking at the 1, 2, 3, and 4 minute MVP. So if you pull up a 1, 2, 3, and 4 minute MVP chart, then you'd see like red, green, red, or red. So it just sort of gives you a heads up. Hey, the 1 minute's flipping, the 2 minutes flipping, the 3 minutes flipping. Maybe the 4 minute is or isn't going to flip, but it's giving you that heads up that it's coming. Okay? And so if you look right here, we see this like going down, and all of a sudden 1 minute flip, 2 minute flip, 3 minute flipped, 4 minute never flipped, 4 minute stayed short. Okay, so obviously you ought to see them usually go in order when they do flip. Every once in a while you may see like an erratic bar like that where it doesn't do it, but normally you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it starts flipping back around 1, 2, 3, 4. And it just shows you the confluence of multiple time frames on the MVP indicator. And when you start seeing that flip back and those flat arrows, that's a good sign that you're entering chop or the market's going to turn around. And I talk about that over on the MVP section of the forum, where I talk about like the 4 filters you need to use, and one of those is the flat arrows on the predictor line. And that is the MVP indicator and the MVP Confluence Indicator.